So Big Booty Blue here, well, in gray and red and black and gold, is finally ready for the flatbed treatment. It's the next step in the transition of this truck to be a more capable work vehicle around here. And so we are going to get started on the flatbed build. It's going to be all steel and be a basic flatbed setup. We're going to do a couple different things. As you can see here, we have mounted this sliding toolbox that's going to be inset into the bed. I'm a sucker for in-bed storage, and so I think that I'm going to be able to kind of cleverly blend this in and be able to retain a little bit of this empty space that would have otherwise just been a void. So I don't really have a plan. Shocking, I know, but I know it will ultimately come off the cab, and then we will kind of angle back, kind of like you see on most one-ton flatbeds. You know, the cab is always narrower than the wheels, and so we're going to kind of taper this back to the wheels, come flat, and I think we're going to do another taper back to the rear board here. And that's mostly just because this is a small, compact vehicle, and I think that if I left it flush with the wheels all the way to the back, I don't know, I just think that would look weird. You might say it's going to look weird doing a symmetrical taper front and back, but we'll find out. I may change my mind. So I picked up some steel, which is the first thing I've really had to spend money on for this. Well, it's the most expensive thing I've had to spend money on so far, and steel is not cheap, but neither are flatbeds, and they don't make flatbeds for this, so we got to make one. That's what we're doing now. So what we've got here is 3-inch by 2-inch by 3/16 rectangle tube, square tube, whatever you want to call it, and this is going to be the framework, the main structure of the flatbed. Now I know this isn't going to be enough to do the whole thing. We'll do something in a lighter gauge, smaller material for the side skirts, but this is going to make up the bulk of it. You could probably argue that this needs to be 1/4 inch, but I think 3/16, 3x2, 2x3 is going to be sufficient for what we're doing. We're going to put a big welder on the back and some other tools, but I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be doing anything, towing any big giant goosenecks, just maybe small, moderately sized goosenecks. I'm sure the motor and trans are going to love that. So we're going to take some measurements on the truck. We're going to get it laid out. We're going to use some CAD, concrete aided design. We're going to map it out on the ground. We're going to lay this out, pipe down. We're going to cut it, probably an angle grinder, and then we're going to just use the old Azuno there, our little cheap Amazon MIG welder, and we're going to see if we can just snot it up, slap it on, and I hope Henry's back soon because this is going to be heavy. All right, so here's the first steps. I went to the truck, got all these square measurements we need for spacing and just general roughing. So then we laid it all square to the maximum dimensions we'll see. We see where it's going to be at the back of the cab and the tailboard, and this is the width over the axle. So instead of trying to figure out the angles over there, you know, just kind of freehand, what we did was we laid everything out square. Who's calling me this time of day? All right, back to business. So we've got the full dimensions with the inner dimensions marked on concrete with a Sharpie. Now we're going to pull the metal off, and we're going to connect the dots. What that will enable us to do is have semi-straight lines that we can put the angle finder on, and then we'll be able to take that angle measurement that we transfer from the concrete to the metal. We'll be able to zip that angle, that angle, that angle, that angle. God, this would be so much easier if I left it square. And then we'll be able to lay those pieces in once they're cut, make sure their profiles match the measurements and the marks we made. Then we'll be able to tack it up, probably just do some baby tacks, and then we'll manhandle it onto the back of the old Big Booty Blue and see how much we have to change. So you can probably barely see it, but there's a chalk box line. See that? So based on the measurements I made of the tubing, I was able to connect the dots. Now I can take this handy gizmo, match the angle, you know, and I can take that to my metal and then make a half-ass close cut. And I'll probably cut them a little short because I can fill a 1/4 inch gap with weld, but I want the angles to be close-ish. So now I'm gonna start angle finding, transcribing, and cutting. I probably won't show a lot of that. I'll probably come back once I get them all cut and laid out. All right, she's cut out, rough 10. Jesus, that was brutal. I need a bandsaw. But the chalk lines were clutch. Now I've just got to kind of clean up the edges and start getting her tacked. Once they're tacked, I'll come back and I'll put these inner pieces in. I don't know, I guess like every 24 inches or so. But yeah, that's the rough outline. It's not, it's a little different, but I think it'll look cool. She's kind of wider than she is long. Little chode bed. But yeah, I'll get her cleaned up and start tacking. I'm running out of daylight. So she's snotted up now. I put in these 2 cross members. I got to put in a couple more, probably a couple perpendicular this way, and probably some angle iron in between there. That'll ride over the axle, and that's probably where the generator, the welder, is going to sit. So the angle iron will be both support pieces and bolt attachment points. I really don't want to try to run a bolt through that crap. So the welder's 25 inches wide, so that should be, I should have measured, should be close. And then we'll just run a couple pieces here, maybe a couple up there for the sheet metal to support or attach to. All right, next up, before I spot any of those, I want to get it on the truck so I can try to make sure I'm aligned with where the frame mounts and stuff are going to go. So I'm going to try to lift this thing up in the air 4 feet or so, and then try to bring it on back. And then just set it down right on top. Okay, it's go time. Now if I could get that truck to start. All right, I finally had some help. Finally was able to get the truck backed into the shop, and we got it kind of set on here. And you can see we just barely clear the tires on both sides. It's not 100% locked in place, but it's mostly there. So the I think the basic shape is going to work. We come right off the cab with that kind of steep taper, and then it jumps back a little shallower angle to the tailboard here. Now we've got to fab up some bed mounts. We'll probably try to catch both of these, so we'll run some 2x3 across. We'll weld it in. I might use some angle for that, actually. Weld it in, bolt it in, and then we'll run something down here to catch the frame. And then we'll probably want to bring something to here to catch the frame, but we'll see. But overall, kind of a cool shape. We're making progress. Okay, so Henry finally started back on the big booty dually project. We decided we need to box the frame back here where the bed mounts are going to be. So we got some cardboard aided design, whipped up the Amazon plasma cutter, cut them out of some 3/8 steel, put them on the CNC plasma table, as you can tell from the super clean cuts. So we got that side in. We got to finish welding it. And we're going to do this side. Then we're just going to grab these on the front. So we'll have 2 on each side on the front. We'll do 1 big bolt through both sides of the boxed frame in the back. That'll give us 6 attachment points and still give us pretty good support here for the gooseneck. Good support for the welder. Yeah, so we're gonna finish welding that up now. All right, so I've done kind of a crappy job keeping you guys updated on the status, or on a step-by-step update. And that's mostly because, you know, we don't know what we're doing, and I don't really want people doing what I do with that in mind. But here we are. We're almost fully framed and supported. The cross members, we have our side skirts, excuse me, can't speak this morning, kind of mocked up. We're probably going to come back and reinforce, but we use that quarter round to kind of just give us an easy way to connect the dots. Anyway, the sheet metal is obviously going to cover all this. Go up and over the wheel arch. We've kind of got this weird little curve to a straight. Not sure how that's going to look. Tailboard is almost done. I'm going to redo this angle iron with some beefier stuff. And we're going to frame out the lenses as well. Then we still have to frame out the opening for the toolbox, the hidden toolbox. We're reinforced here. We're tied back to this. We got a nice bird's mouth joint here. We're tied here. Should be pretty strong. We are going to put a bumper pull hitch on it. We need to finish up the tail lights. They're kind of just temporarily tacked in place. And the lights don't work like they're supposed to, so don't know if it's a problem with the truck or a problem with my wiring job. More than likely, it's both. But anyway, here's a quick update so you can kind of see. I probably won't be back until we start putting the sheet metal on, but you can at least see what it looked like before. As far as I know.
I guess they didn't have one for more war. Who won last night, Gene?
No, I have no idea. All right. We got the big boy fender made and mocked up. Henry, you want to use this helmet or that one?
I'm gonna try one.
You look like Iron Man. What is it that Iron Man says?
Yep.
To infinity and beyond.
Oh, that.
Is your mask turned on?
Yeah. That button right there.
Yeah. Oh, yep, you're on. All right, quick update. All of the metal plating is done and in position. The only welding we have left to do is the seam across the middle. We're about to knock that out. We got the dual fenders welded together, the single fenders welded into dual fenders and put in place. Oh, I still got to run a weld across the face there. We got holes made for our little button lights, coin lights, penny lights, whatever, the clearance lights. We ran the wires through the tube, through the frame before we did the top. That way we had a little more access. Now we've got them hanging out, and once we have it welded, then painted, then we'll put the lights on. You can see here we've cleaned up the tail light, or we've got the tail light buckets welded in. Oh, I missed a couple spots. That's good. come back to that. The door frame is in place. The door is made, but I'm working on the hinge system there. And we've started, and I don't typically grind my welds, but the way this sat up, it wasn't flat. I was actually working off the back of this yesterday, and the protruding welds were kind of a pain in the butt. So then I decided, hell, I guess we'll grind the edges, and it looks pretty clean. There's a few little craters that I could fill in, and I don't know if I will. We'll see what it looks like, but I was content to leave it look like a third grader put this together, but the raised edge, ooh boy, got a big old crater there too. It's just not good for working on a flat surface, so we'll at least grind the tops down. We went ahead and made a little gas cap shield out of some scraps. It's a little loud. Could have made it smaller, but those were the scraps we had, so we just ran with it. I don't think it's too bad. And it will definitely protect that gas cap from crap falling on it. So that's pretty much where we're at. Like I said, I'm not gonna show all the welding because one, I'm not good at it, and two, it's very monotonous, time-consuming work. So the last things we have to do, like I said, finish the welding here. We'll grind it up a little bit, and then I'm gonna finish the door. I'm gonna have to get kind of creative with the hinge system and the locking system, but then she'll be ready for paint. It'll be completely finished. Well, that's not a great angle. But yeah, it's looking pretty good, I think I need some wheel spacers. Fill that wheel well out just a touch more. But overall, it's coming together. Took way longer than I expected, like everything. All right, we're working on the rear hide-a-slide. Yeah, hide-a-slide. Back here, we're pretty much roughed in. What we're gonna do is, because that cutout, this door face, it was actually the cutout from here. I trimmed it up a little bit. It's a really tight fit, meaning that standard hinges, you need more space. So I got these zero gap or something hinges off Amazon. So I've got them spaced up about the thickness of the door, plus just a hair between. Idea being that that'll give the door just a touch of wiggle room. So we're clamped in. I'm going to tack the backs of these hinges. I'm going to put the door in. I'm going to tack those hinges to the door, and then I'm going to cross my fingers that it fits. All right, so plans change. Those fancy zero tolerance, whatever, hinges didn't quite work. They weren't tough enough. So we ended up just welding 1/2-inch nuts on the bottom, drilling a hole in the frame, and running a bolt through. As a result, we have an easy to open and close door. Now, to keep that in place, we've got a few ideas we're kicking around, but the one that I'm going to try first is bolting a magnet to the socket I made with a nut welded in the end of it. And then I'm going to weld that to here, and we're just going to rely on magnet power to keep this closed. If that seems strong, we'll leave it. If it seems weak, we'll probably put some little mechanical doodad in there. But that's that. We are finally about ready. Finally about done with the bodywork. I've gotten a lot of Cybertruck comments. I guess it kind of does look like a Cybertruck. Maybe I was subconsciously influenced. I don't know. So we spent a lot of time grinding and smoothing out the edges and trying to put a consistent, what's that called, a chamfer, on the outside corners. But I'm just done. I'm tired of using those tools for a while. So I think we're going to get it cleaned up. We got to sweep the floor because it is a mess. And then lights. All these little guys. We call them button lights, penny lights, butthole lights. I'm not sure. That's next. I'm going to do that and then tape off the light. And then it's time for the bedliner. So, I'll bring you back once we're clean, the lights are in, we're taped off. Hopefully that'll be today. Forgot to mention, when we decided on the finish, we had a couple choices, or a couple options. Jesus. I thought about leaving it steel and just clearing over it, because I like the way the silver looks. It looks cool. Second option would just be leave it and let it rust like all the, well, not like all of them, like some of the pipeliner trucks you see where they just slowly turn dark brown and they actually look pretty cool, but that's not really the motif I'm going with here. Third option was paint. That is absolutely not going to be the way we go, just because there are just so many imperfections here, and I am not going to go around and fill every single pit in the weld. Look, there's another one there. There's some and that's everywhere. So instead, we're going to do the truck bed liner. Couple pros, a couple cons. The pros being that it's going to hide sins a little better. Well, much better than paint would. It's textured, so that's, good. Cons being that if it doesn't look good, it's going to be a nightmare to get off. And I lose my ability to ground to the bed, which I guess that was going to happen regardless. So, anywho, that's why we're going to truck bed liner. Hopefully it'll smooth out some of these edges, fill in some of these holes, and make this thing look just a little more like a finished product. Because if we painted it, you'd see all the ripples and the warps and all the holes, and you could really tell we were hack jobs then. All right, just when you think you're getting somewhere, I came back and did some more grinding, did some more cleanup, went ahead and started masking off. We got the tail or the clearance lights wired in and they're working, taped off, getting ready for paint or truck bed liner. And I realized I never put my, I never made a receiver trailer hitch thing. So I had some flat stock, 1/4 inch flat stock. So we're going to be welding that to that. We'll have some chain hooks. I know they're probably supposed to be on a separate thing from this, but so we're going to weld that up and we're going to tack it on the bottom. Now that bottom bar, drawbar, I don't know what you call it, it's already tied back into the frame with 1/4 inch 2x2 square tube. So it's going to have some support into the frame, not to mention just tied into this hulk of a bed anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and tack that up. We're going to weld it on. I'm not going to show you all those steps, but just showing you, we just had some scraps. I just found that, so that was handy. So that's $3. And then once that's on, I got to button up a couple things. I ripped out some cords, grinding, cut some wires, so that's fun. Then we will finish up the prep work, the masking, take the wheels off, do the inner fenders. We're getting so close. All right, so probably hard to tell, but the front of the drawbar is going to be welded across the top and along the sides. And then this is reinforced by this little toe chain plate. And then I'm going to be able to weld across. We're going to sandwich the drawbar, and I'll be able to weld all the way across the top back. So that should be pretty strong. I mean, if something breaks, the whole bed's probably just going to come off. All right, so we got the hitch welded on. And then we noticed how stupid that looks. And then we noticed Not only does that look dumb, you can see the toolbox and the wiring, and you can see the inner structure. So then Henry talked me into whipping up a rear lower quarter bed panel. So we trashed these out real quick. And that's gonna fit up right in there, and it's gonna connect from here to here to here. That way you won't see all the junk in the trunk. Yeah, that's gonna look better. So today is all about trying to get everything ready for final to be finished. We went ahead and took some satin canyon black, whatever stuff, and we just bombed the whole underside. Covered it as best we could. We're gonna take some of this Rust-Oleum undercoating, and we're gonna do the inner fenders that we tacked or welded together. The reason we're using this and not the truck bed liner is because, one, I don't think I'm gonna have enough truck bed liner to do the whole thing, and two, I had that sitting on the shelf. So we're gonna do the inner fenders with that, and then once this is done, we're gonna put the wheels back on. Then we're gonna do final cleanup, wax, degrease, wax remover. We're not gonna wax it. That's later. Degrease it, and then prime it with self-etching primer. Lot of contradictory information on the internet about what you need to do prior to a spray-on Raptor liner deal. Some folks say if you have bare metal and you have it roughed in like we do and clean, that's enough. Others say you must use self-primer, and some say self-primer is actually self-etching primer. Jesus Christ. It's only been 4 beers, for the love of God. Some say self-etching primer is actually counterproductive. It actually makes the truck bed liner stick worse than nothing at all. So what are you going to do? We're going to sand it down real good. We're going to clean it real good. We're going to put some self-etching primer on it. And then tomorrow we will Raptor line. All right, Henry just got the self-etching primer put on. You can see we get our rear lower quarter panel installed. That looks way better. It's kind of this weird drab or olive or army green, but it looks good. It's gonna finish setting up, and tomorrow morning or tonight, we'll see, we're gonna hit it with the Raptor liner. All right, we got this pig sprayed with the Raptor liner, Amazon special. But I will admit, the 4-can package covered it really well. I even got the new rear lower quarters, got the inside of the inner, or the inside of the fenders, the inner fenders. And I got about 2.5 to 3 coats on everything, and all my heinous welds are gone. Even my good ones are gone, but I'll take it. She looks really good. So I'm supposed to let this sit for about 15 minutes, and I'll start peeling tape. But overall, man, that looks solid. Pretty happy with that. Tomorrow, once she's fully cured, we'll drag her out to the sun. We'll put the lights back in it. We'll see what she looks like. Completed after 10 months of hard work. Liking it. All right, we got the bed liner on. Sprayed her last night. Pulled the tape off the lights. Everything looks pretty good. Some streaks, but it was late. Well, that's pretty much gonna wrap up the flatbed build, I guess. We're gonna put the generator or the welder on and the gen poles, but that'll probably be a different video. I'm ready for this one to be over. And you think you could pull that toolbox out? Your hands clean?
Hands are clean.
You gotta push your thumb in the big hole and put your finger in the little hole. You gotta push that button. Oh yeah. She got a little angle to her. All right. That's it. Thanks for watching.